Have you ever thought about the way that your actions are affected and impacted by the people around you? When you're in a group of people and you look around and you're the only person doing something or the only person not doing something, how does that make you feel? Have you ever taken the time to think about how this impacts your success in your life and business? I'm really excited to dig into this topic of why this happens, what it is, and how we can start to re-embrace our originality to have the success in the life that we want to have. My name is Amber Fuhriman, and this is the More Than Corporate podcast.
Welcome to the More Than Corporate podcast. I'm Amber Fuhriman, recovering perfectionist and serial accomplisher. If you're anything like I used to be, you've been living your life thinking that if you accomplish enough stuff, you'll finally find the success you've always wanted. But what if it's not about accomplishing more stuff? What if it's about accomplishing the right stuff? I believe you don't find success, you create it by intentionally designing the life you want and having the courage to get out of your comfort zone to live your design. I went from doing what I was supposed to do to doing what I love to do, and now I get to help others do the same. Keep listening as I chat with inspiring people who make it their mission to live their best life every day and learn how you too can live the life you've always wanted.
Before we dig into this episode, I want to remind you that it's brought to you by Success Development Solutions and the Break Your Bullshit Box group coaching program. Listen, we all have that voice in our head, the one that tells us we're not good enough, the one that tells us that somebody else should be releasing the program that we're releasing or selling the product that we're selling. Somebody else should be writing the book that we're writing. Somebody else should be going out for the job that we want to apply for. That nobody wants to hear what we have to say, or people are thinking about us a certain way. We all have those thoughts in our head all the time, and we get to decide how we're going to deal with those. All of those excuses get put in this bullshit box in your head. And if you want to be able to accomplish the success that you've always dreamed of, it is imperative that you break that bullshit box and get out of your comfort zone. If you want to know how you can surround yourself with people who are all dedicated to success and growth, and you want to be able to have the support that you need to accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish, then let's have a conversation. Pick up your phone and text the word success to the number 55444. Again, that's success to 55444. Let's sit down, have a conversation, jump on a call or a Zoom or whatever you want to do, and find out how we can start making your dreams a reality. All right, so let's talk about this herd mentality idea. Let me tell you just for a second of where this came from. So I was at a networking event maybe 2 weeks ago, and I walked in. It was a group that I'm not normally in, and everybody was going to be taking some time to introduce themselves and their business. And I was really excited to get to know everybody. And because I hadn't met most of these people and didn't know what they did, I had my iPad with me. I opened up my good notes. I grabbed my Apple Pencil, and there's maybe 40 people that were in this room, and we're all sitting down, and each person is taking a turn to talk about their business and what they do and how we can connect with them if we'd like to. So as each person goes down, I'm writing down their name, and I'm writing down their business, and I'm thinking about what it is they're saying and who do I know that may be able to benefit from what it is that they're saying, because I love being a connector of people that are doing amazing things. And I look around and I realize that I am the only person in this room that's taking notes. And I mean, I think we would all agree that I had these great intentions, and the behavior that I was engaging in was positive and it served my goals. I was dedicated to making sure that I remembered each person and what they were asking for and what they did, and remembering, giving myself the tools to be able to go back and look through my notes when I got home and was thinking about who I might know. All of these are beneficial. They serve me, they serve the people that I'm connecting with. It is a win-win for everybody. There's nothing negative about what I was doing. But when I realized that I was the only one doing it, I started to feel self-conscious. I started to think, oh my gosh, am I doing something different? Like, why isn't anybody else taking notes? What am I doing wrong? Why am I doing this? And there was a moment that I thought, Amber, just close your iPad, stop taking notes, sit here and listen like everybody else is. And I thought, how often does this show up in our life and business where we are doing something that actually moves us closer to our goals? We are doing something that can have a positive effect on our life or business and the life or business of the people that we interact with. And because we're the only people that we see doing it, or because we're in a minority of people, we second guess ourselves and then we conform to the actions of the people around us. How does that impact what we're capable of providing to the world, right? If To be clear, I didn't close my iPad. I continued taking notes, and when I got home, I was able to make multiple connections to people based upon the information that I heard. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I thought I'm doing something wrong because I'm doing something that nobody else is doing, right? We all want to attract a client that relates to what we're saying. We all want to serve a population of people that can benefit from our products and services. And one of the questions that's always asked is, how do I stand out? How do I do something that's different? How do I create something that has never been created before? And the uncomfortable answer to that is, we push past that feeling that because we're the only one doing it, that it must be wrong or it must not be valuable, or we need to change in our behavior to conform with the mentality and the behavior of the groups around us. Think about a time that you have ever walked into a conference. You think before you get to the actual conference about the type of people that you want to meet. What is it that you're hoping you get out of that day? What do you want to accomplish? And what would a successful day at this conference be? Maybe you pack a snack because you get hangry like I do. Maybe you have your water bottle and you've got a bag, and you've got your iPad or your note taking method, whether you're old school or you're going to use a recorder, whatever it is, right? And you walk in, and what's the first thing that we do? We start looking around. What's everybody else doing? What did everybody else wear today? What am I in the right place? Where did everybody else sit? I kind of want to sit at the front of the conference right by the stage so that I can really meet all of the speakers and make sure that I don't miss anything, and meet amazing people, but everybody's sitting towards the back of the room. What other people do in a group mentality absolutely affects our behavior. When we allow ourselves to push through that, when we allow ourselves to say, I know that I'm going to meet people that share my passion for taking in information if I sit at the front of this room. I know that I'm going to remember the topics that were talked about and be able to implement them into my life and business more if I take notes. I know that I'm going to be able to focus if I prepare myself with some water and some food before I go. I know that I'm going to get more out of this event if I'm clear about what success means to me before I even walk in. If I think about who do I want to meet, if I make it an intentional decision to have conversations with people, if we can say, I know that these things are in my best interests and they serve me and they serve my clients and they move me forward, and I'm committed to doing them regardless of what everybody else around me is doing, then we really start to set ourselves up for success. There's so much that goes into this herd mentality, and it comes down to comparing ourselves to others and wanting to fit in with the group and wanting to avoid being different. But let me tell you that different is where the magic happens. Different is where all of the things that bring out who you are to your product and service where they fit into the picture. It's so funny to me because I remember when I was first going down this path of content creation and coaching and building programs, and I remember thinking, I don't want, I want to make sure that I'm not offering the same thing that other people are offering. So I put together this fantastic program that was different. And I would go to sell it and I'd be like, oh, but nobody else is doing anything like this. Maybe it's wrong, right? How can we want to do something that's different and also want to conform with everybody else at the same time? How can we want to offer something to our clients that they don't otherwise get with other products and services, and also compare ourselves to what other people are doing and conform our actions? How do those two things fit together? They don't, right? We end up feeling like we're living totally out of alignment. I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but I do want to provide something that's of value that brings me into it. There is an incredible book called Steal Like an Artist. And this book was invaluable in my journey of reminding myself that while there may not be a lot of original thought anymore, the things that we talk about on this podcast, the things that are talked about in the personal development space, they've been talked about before. You could go listen to 100 different podcasts on herd mentality and the way that groups affect our actions. I'm positive of it. But none of them are going to sound like this. And that doesn't mean that mine's better or worse. It means that mine's mine, right? That I have brought my personality into this, that I've brought my experiences into this, that I've brought my goals, and the impact that I want to make has shaped the way that I deliver the content. I've brought my education into it. Somebody else has brought all of those things into it for them, and that's going to make it different for them. When we try to fit ourselves into a societal box, we take away all the creativity that makes us great and different and likable. Well, the same thing happens in this herd mentality. When we walk into a room and we take away all the things that we're doing different, we take away our ability to be noticed if somebody's looking for something in particular. We take away our ability to grow our businesses, because imagine that you went to that conference, or that you were at the networking event that I was at, and that you saw that you're the only person taking notes, and you decided, you know what, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe this isn't a note taking activity, so I'm not going to do it. And then that speaker says that one thing that is going to change your life and business, or somebody asks for a connection that you know that you can connect, and that's the thing that changes your both of your connections lives, and you become the connector of those two. You make lifelong friends, you make business partners and collaborations, and you grow your business to more than you thought possible. What if you didn't have that information? What if instead you got home and you said, oh my God, I listened to 14 speakers today, and I know that they said something valuable, and I know that there were things that I wanted to do, and I had all of these ideas, and I don't remember what they were anymore. And I didn't take notes because nobody else was. Or I know that there was that person at that networking event that said that they wanted a connection to somebody, and I knew that someone, but I don't remember who asked for the connection, and I don't remember who I was thinking of, because I didn't take notes because nobody else was. This idea of herd mentality is that our actions become influenced by the thoughts and behaviors of the groups that we're around. And this hinders our creativity. It instills this ridiculous fear of failure in us, because if we decide what is successful, then how can we fail? Right? How can failure be a thing if we are the ones that's deciding what is success, and we have a process for evaluating our actions and learning from them? And we get better each time, and we get closer and closer to our definition of success. Then how can there ever be failure? There is no failure. There's only feedback. But when we take that feedback and instead of running it through our program and definition of success, we say, well, the group wasn't taking notes. So if I take notes, then that must mean I'm a failure for taking notes. How does that feel to you? Horrible, right? What do you think about that? When we say it like this, when we have this conversation, when you and I sit down and we talk and we say, you know something's good for you, and you're not going to do it because nobody else is. And you're like, that's fucking stupid. And I'm like, I know. Yeah, how many times have you done it when you walked out your door? How many times have you allowed your actions and behaviors to be dictated and defined by somebody else's version of success? How many times have you thought of something that was amazing? Like, right, we've all had this moment. I know that I have, where you think this is going to be fantastic. I'm so excited to create this thing. And then you start typing and finding out other ways that people have created it or something similar, and you can't find anything like it. And then you go down that rabbit hole of, well, if there's nothing like it, does that mean that it's because it's not valuable? Or maybe people have tried and it didn't work, and that's why it's not there. So you spend your entire time that you could be creating this thing in this feedback loop from hell, where you're analyzing why it doesn't already exist. And while you're doing that, all of a sudden you see somebody on Facebook that has popped up a article about this new thing that they created, and it's almost the same as your idea. And you're like, that bitch stole my idea. Did they? Or did you just not create it because you were too busy comparing yourself to everybody else? We get to be aware of the fact that it is an undeniable reality of human behavior that group dynamics will affect our behavior. And before we act, we get to decide, am I acting this way because that's what the rest of the group is doing, or is this what I really want to do? Listen, we all want to design our life, right? We all want our version of success. In order for us to create that, we have to be willing to silence that voice in our head that says we're different, embrace our individuality, and make success happen our own way. Surround yourself with people who encourage this. Surround yourself with people who are also out there living life on their terms and are not willing to bend their actions to fit the actions of a group unless the actions of that group serve their goals. I would love for you to take some time and think about what we've talked about in this episode. Think about what are places that you've seen this show up in your life, and how can you make sure that you are cognizant of it the next time that you go out into an event in the future. I'd also love to hear your feedback. So you can either text me at that number that we talked about earlier, 55444, the word success. I'll reach out to you. Or you can find me on social media platforms. They're all linked in the show notes of this episode. I love watching people succeed. I love seeing people accomplish their goals. We all have the ability to design the life we've always wanted, and you owe it to yourself to get out of your comfort zone and accomplish that life that you've designed. In order for us to do that, it requires that we break our bullshit box and silence that voice in our head. Have a fantastic week, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the More Than Corporate podcast. If anything that was said during this episode resonated with you or provided value in any way, it would mean the world to me if you would head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the More Than Corporate podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. I'm really looking forward to connecting with you. If you'd also like to connect, I've created a Facebook group that is full of amazing people who also make it their mission to live their best life every single day. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, the name of that Facebook group is Success Center. Head over there, request to join, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.